It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of August 18th, 1995. We got 4 movies to look at today, so let's just go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Mortal Kombat. Rated PG-13, because why not? I mean, I would say that we have to bring all the kids in here, but let's be honest, all the kids were playing Mortal Kombat, so regardless if this was R-rated or PG-13, they're gonna go see this movie anyway. And I mean, this one is definitely one of the more. I guess at that point in time, it was one of the better video game adaptations, just for the fact that it definitely does feel like definitely does feel like a big screen version of the video game. I mean, the action sequences, the atmosphere, the production values, the characters designs. I mean, it looks like something straight out of the game. I mean, that's the one thing you got to give this movie credit for, is the fact that it definitely feels like the video game. Unlike some of the other video game movies that we've looked at so far, Super Mario Brothers, Double Dragon, Street Fighter, just to name a few. And so there is that. Probably the biggest problem with the movie overall is a couple of things. One is the fact that it is PG-13, and that means we have to tone down the violence in the video games. It's not as fun as the video games are, but I mean, you could still have a way to do this and make it fun, even if you had to tone down the violence of it. But in here, they just don't really do it all that well. The script overall is mediocre at best, and the casting overall isn't bad. I mean, there are some good casting choices in here, but the characters do get annoying really fast, and the people who are playing these characters are doing these insane over-the-top performances that get kind of old really, really fast. I mean, there's just no fun in there. Like Christopher Lambert playing Lord Raiden in this movie. I mean, he's having the time of his life, but he sounds a lot like Peter Falk. Not Peter Falk. Peter Lorre is what I'm trying to say. Like he sounds like Peter Lorre whenever he talks. He has that chiseled voice of his where he's just like, "It's master." He's like, why did I just do Igor for the Frankenstein movies? But he definitely sounded like that, though. He definitely sounded like Peter Lorre whenever he talks. And Bridget Wilson, she gets really annoying really fast in this movie. I mean, again, kind of like in Last Action Hero, when she screams or goes over the top, it gets annoying really, really fast. And I don't hate her as an actress, but it seems like in most of the movies that we've looked at her in so far, she's done nothing but scream at the top of her lungs, and like it's over the top screaming, and it's like annoying screaming. Like whenever she screams, it's like, okay, calm it down a little bit there, lady. I mean, there's just so much here in this movie that is a mess, but there is stuff in here that does work. And truth be told, this is still the best Mortal Kombat movie, because as much as Mortal Kombat 2021 did a decent job of getting the violence in there, it still wasn't a great film overall. I think a lot of people liked it, but at the same time, they felt underwhelmed by what they were expecting from it. And I guess you can kind of say the same thing here. This is still the best of the Mortal Kombat movies, but just barely. I mean, I'd gladly take this or the 2021 film over Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which we'll get to in a couple of years. But, Mortal Kombat is a decent film. It definitely could have been a whole lot better, but I give it credit for at least keeping in tone with the spirit of the video games, acting like a legitimate adaptation of the video games for the most part. I just wish the writing was a little bit better. They found a way to get to the over-the-top violence in here, even with the PG-13 rating, and I wish the performances were better. But other than that, though, I'd still watch this again, Mortal Kombat, the original one. It's still a decent film, and still one of the better video game adaptations we've looked at so far. But of course, it would take almost 30 years before we actually started getting legitimately good video game adaptations, and we will get to those ones eventually. But that's Mortal Kombat. Let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is The Babysitter's Club. So obviously, this is definitely not something in my typical in the age bracket that I should be watching this in. I mean, I was 6 years old when this came out, and I'm a boy, obviously. I'm a little kid at this time watching this movie, and it's one of those movies where it kind of sticks with you. Like, it kind of sticks with you if you actually saw it. I watched it again recently to get ready for this, and I gotta say, this movie actually holds up a lot better than I think this has any right to, because, I'm obviously not a big fan of the books. I have watched a couple of the old TV series. I mean, that theme song for the TV series is so catchy. I can't put it on here because of copyright issues, but But I saw a couple of episodes of the TV show, but then I saw the movie when I was a kid, and I remember kind of liking it. It was something that I shouldn't like it. It's not in my typical age bracket, but it does a pretty good job of adapting the stories to the books, of which I read later on. But it's a very good movie, and I think it works for a number of reasons. You have Melanie Mayron from 30 something doing the direction on this. She brought up some of the people from 30 something on here, including Peter Horton, who plays Christie's dad in this movie. You have Charlotte Fisk playing Christie from Snow Day in Orange County, Rachel Lee Cook in one of her early film roles, Larissa Olniak from Secret World of Alex Mack, um, Bruce Davidson, Ellen Burstyn, Austin O'Brien from Terminator, Marla Sokolov, Kyla Pratt's in this movie as well. There's a lot of young talent in this movie, and they definitely show a lot of that talent in this movie. I mean, is it a great film? Not really. It's definitely... I think it's a nice comfort food movie, and it helps to have a nice soundtrack, too. Like, I mean, you heard it in the trailer. You have Cornflake Girl by Tori Amos in there, Good by Better Than Ezra, and Dreams by the Cranberries, and just... that soundtrack overall is just filled with so much 90s that I can't help but love it, man. I mean, I think it's a great soundtrack overall, but that's mostly because I like that music from the decade as well as the 80s as well. And like I said, the movie itself, it's a nice little film. It doesn't really do anything groundbreaking. It doesn't do anything unique or different, but it's a nice comfort food movie. Like, if you go into it with the right mindset, if you go into it with a good mindset of this might be something interesting, you might actually get something out of it. Like, I think the people who know these books very well definitely do like it a lot, but even if you're not a big fan of these books, I think you can find a lot to enjoy in this movie. I mean, there's a lot of good writing in here. The acting is very good overall. It's a nice comfort food movie. It doesn't do anything groundbreaking, but it's at the same time, it's a nice little film that if you find it somewhere and you actually watch it, you do actually get a lot more out of it than I think a lot of people would have expected from a movie like this. So that's just my personal thoughts on it. So that's The Babysitter's Club. Let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Bryan Singer's The Usual Suspects. I mean, really, do I need to say anything more about this movie that hasn't already been said already? The Usual Suspects is just an amazing film that really launched not just Bryan Singer as a pretty solid director for a good chunk of his career, with a couple of misfires here and there, but also it's one of the early films written by Christopher McQuarrie, who won an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, and later went on to become a prolific director with The Way of the Gun, and of course his many collaborations with Tom Cruise, Jack Reacher, the Mission Impossible films of late, Top Gun Maverick, of course, just a number of movies that he and him have been involved in, and really the movie itself is just a great mystery film. Like, everybody in this movie does a very good job filling these roles. Stephen Baldwin, Gabriel Byrne, Chaz Palminteri, Kevin Pollak, Pete Postlethwaite, Kevin Spacey, Benicio del Toro, Giancarlo Esposito. Just a great cast overall. That iconic scene in front of the prison. I just had the name for it. Why do I keep forgetting it? The prison lineup scene. Why do I keep I don't know why I couldn't figure that out, but that prison lineup scene is just so synonymous now. It's a moment that everyone knows the line. Give me the keys, you cocksucking motherfucker. I mean, the way they're saying that line, the fact that that was entirely improvised. I mean, Stephen Baldwin's reaction alone is absolutely worth the price of admission. And Kevin Spacey, who ends up playing a critical part in this movie, he won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, rightfully deserved too. I mean, I'm not gonna say the big twist and everything, but I think you can kind of figure it out if you've seen little bits and pieces here and there. But really, there's nothing more I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said. It's such a brilliantly made film, a fantastic film. Usual Suspects, I can't recommend it enough. If you haven't seen it already, do yourself a favor and see it, man, because you're missing out on something really special. So that's The Usual Suspects. Let's move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is the documentary Jupiter's Wife. So while working on a documentary, this director, Michael Negroponte, encounters a homeless woman in Central Park who claims to be Robert Ryan's daughter. What's more, the woman, Maggie, says she's the god's Jupiter's wife, and periodically receives radio transmissions from him. Intrigued, this director abandons his old project and starts interviewing Maggie. The result, after 2 years, is a film that attempts to separate fact and fiction and reconstruct the fascinating real life of this endearing, eccentric woman. That's pretty much all I know about this movie. I haven't seen it, but that really is all I know about this film, because if you go on Wikipedia, there's nothing there for it. I had to go to Google actually to figure out what the premise of this was. But and that clip there I got from Apple TV website, and it definitely shows some promise there. But that's really all I can add to it because I haven't seen it. I can't really say too much about it. So yeah. So that's Jupiter's Wife, came out this weekend, and that'll wrap this one up. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll wrap up August next time with 9 movies, including the sequel to El Mariachi, Desperado with Salma Hayek and Antonio Banderas, Clive Barker's Lord of Illusions, The Amazing Panda Adventure, Beyond Rangoon, The Show, Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde, The Thief and the Cobbler, Nausea, and Theremin and Electronic Odyssey. So 9 movies to look at next time around, a big show next time around, and we'll delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching, I will see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.